Hello, it's Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and today I'm going to be looking at a video called The Dark Side of Male Improvement Content by the roommates with Mikhaila Peterson. Let's have a look at the video.
So I know you've gotten really deep into the men's space and the men's dating space with like even some of the crazy red pill content and all types of foolishness that goes on about in that space. How did you find that, and like what has been your experience seeing it, learning it, hearing about it, all that stuff?
Okay, the red pill space. Are you talking about Rollo?
Yeah, like all those, like all that.
I did a bit of a video on that, a reaction to it, and I also compared it to what Jordan Peterson says, because I kind of feel like Michaela's been kind of thrown in the middle of this. I think on the one hand, you've got people like Rollo Tomasi from the Red Pill, and on the other hand, you've got people like Jordan Peterson. And Michaela's kind of been thrown in between. Really, Rollo should be having a chat with Jordan about their ideas and, you know, what it is that they're dealing with. And because Jordan's a lot more educated on it, whereas Michaela's a bit more naive. She doesn't really know what's going on. It's not, and her and Jordan, like I demonstrated in that video, they're so completely different in the way in which they behave towards marriage and the way that they treat relationships and the way that they think about and do things, that what Mikhaila has to contribute isn't that helpful. She's kind of a good example of what not to do. So it's not, I feel bad for her because she's been kind of thrown in the middle of this
Content over there, because I think you were talking about, especially in the interview, how you were researching it and you were learning about it and you were curious about it. Like, I was just curious, like, how did you? I have an idea of how you got there, but I'm curious to, like, how did you really get there, and then like what?
I think I don't know what this guy's going on about, but I think that the red pill addresses a series of problems that exist in society. I don't think that the red pill tries to create problems. There might be some people that are troublemakers. Obviously, you get that in any kind of, especially when marketing's involved and all that kind of stuff. But it's trying to come up with solutions as to, right, okay, this has been a radical change in the past, 60 years, 60, 70 years. What we're going to do about it in terms of the sexual revolution. And so it's trying to come up with constructive ways forward. Any people that are in the manosphere, I hate that term, but I can't stand that term, but anyone that's in the manosphere side of things, whether it's the MGTOWs or the red pills or the incels or whatever you've got, there's loads of them. I think that there are a lot of positive influences. It's just that it's not very comfortable conversations to have.
Just some of like your thought process about just some of that type of content.
Okay, well, I think specifically for Rollo Tomasi, I'd heard of the rational male. I think I heard about it in high school.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I heard it mentioned. So I just heard, certain people bring it up, whenever. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. If he's doing the same, I didn't know very much about him. I was like, if he's doing the same thing that like Robert Glover is doing, yes. But that was kind of my thinking. I was like, if he's doing that kind of that kind of thing, like maybe that'd be an interesting podcast.
Yeah.
So I think it was just like naivety. So I hadn't actually
Yeah, that's what I just said.
like sat down. I don't actually really watch podcasts. I have a
Okay.
podcast, but I don't really watch podcasts or listen to podcasts. So I think it may be just naivety.
Yeah.
And it was like, I thought it was kind of the same thing. It was like, oh, if you're teaching men to take more responsibility and just,
And it is responsibility. It's their ability to respond to the feminist movement.
I understand like the hatred towards men that's kind of going on the left. And I was like, well, if it's not that and then that's good. But I think I just didn't do my research properly.
What has been like after?
Yeah, there is hatred and it towards men, and that's where the red pill has kind of emerged from. It's kind of like, well, this is the reaction to it. Like when you get a group of people and you hate them just for the fact that they're born a male, and the whole of the legal structure and the system that's set up in the Western world is designed to destroy the individual male. No matter how much responsibility he takes, it's still going to destroy you anyway. Then it's kind of, you kind of end up a little bit nihilistic. And then with that nihilism and resentment, you have to kind of think about, well, what am I going to do with that now? And that's why I think a lot of people in the red pill space gravitate towards people like Jordan Peterson, because he's not naive about the situation. He's got a foot in each camp, in the blue pill and in the red pill, order and chaos as he describes it. And, he talks about practical ways forward that you can manage, and he has some solutions. But the solutions that he offers are it requires a lot of things to work in order to achieve his 12 rules for life. It requires a lot of luck in some ways.
Has been like, after, the conversation, after doing more research, what are some of the things that you've come to realize about some of that space? I'm just curious how you've processed it.
I think that for like the serious, like red pill, depending on the person, but some of those people are angry, like really angry.
Yeah, they are angry, and justifiably so. Now, I'm not saying that the way that they react to things is necessarily the correct things to do, but it all depends on the individual. But it's very much warranted.
Like usually when I have a conversation with someone, and I'll bring like left-wing people on the podcast too, and generally speaking, I can have a conversation with anybody, and generally speaking, we leave feeling like, okay, that was a reasonable conversation. Yeah. And with Rollo in particular, it was like, nothing about that felt good. We didn't leave on the same level at all.
I think it's because Rollo asked so many questions about her personal life where things didn't work out too well. Like she had a divorce and all that kind of stuff, and she had a baby out of wedlock, and she went through a series of things whereby she didn't make the best life choices. And so when you inquire into people's personal lives, things that they would have probably not done in retrospect, it's a very sensitive thing, and it's a very difficult topic to be able to talk about. And then also Rollo's kind of using her as an example of what not to do, because she just exemplifies all the things that men tend to want to avoid. Like, men want to be married and they want to stay married. But if you want to be married and you want to stay married, then don't marry Mikhaila, because she can't negotiate it, as she puts it, which doesn't make sense to me
at all. Mm-hmm. And I think some of those people there's some like anger towards women going on. And that's the criticism the red pill community gets too.
It's not just anger towards women. It's the way that society has been set up, and the way that the legal structures have been engineered to cater towards radical feminists. And when you look at Jordan Peterson, like his top interviews, like with Kathleen Newman and that other woman from GQ, they're the top ones, because it is that coming together. And Jordan's a very reasonable guy. Like I say, I believe he's got one foot in each. He's very kind of a liberalish guy. He's not far left. He's not far right. He's kind of like, but yet it's most combative there, because even with a reasonable guy who takes responsibility and is precise with his words and all that kind of stuff, they'll go to town on him. There's so much that they don't want to see a good gentleman. They want to turn him into something that he's not. They want to turn him into Red Skull. What the fuck? What the fuck? How can you do that to him?
It was like, why do you hate women? But like, and initially I thought that was kind of a misrepresentation in the media, like everything else is a misrepresentation. But
you should be angry at stuff like that, because it's wrong. It's not right. The anger is the worst thing happening to the best guy. That's the resentment, that's the anger, that's the frustration, and that's rewarded in society.
That really don't like women, and you can see it pretty clearly.
Yeah.
And it's not for the betterment, like teaching people that all women are a certain way or all men are a certain way. I don't think that that's going to actually make things better, make people get along better.
Yeah.
Well, I think resentment is a bit like fear. You've got to look directly at it. You've got to look at it face on, head on. And so having the courage to look at your own resentment and talk about it openly, even though you might lose your job, even though that You might break up your family, even though that you might not have so many offers from women because they hear what you're saying about your opinions and stuff. Again, I agree with Peterson. I think you have to say what you believe to be true. There's different emotions through the cycle, and it's a grieving process essentially of what you believed about the world and then what you realize about the world. And that's why they call it the red pill, because it's a bit like with the Matrix analogy, whereby you've been living your life a certain way and you go through the rabbit hole on the hero's journey, and then you come out the other end and you're able to deal with it. But a lot of guys are kind of stuck down there, and I think it's better that they go online and rant about it and talk about it, and that there's other people that come on that offer them positive solutions, as opposed to going and shooting up a school like Elliot Rodgers did. That's an unhealthy way of dealing with it.
You know, my experience in the men's space, I watch everybody. I try to read almost everything, you know, and, you know, there's good and bad everywhere. And there's extreme, you know, red pill, there's extreme, all this stuff. And I don't want to paint everybody in the same light. But to me, the most fascinating thing is, like, if you were to pick, like, I would really describe it as like the enemy of a red pill guy is like a left-wing feminist. That's like his arch rival.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But it's not just the guy, it's the family. Like Erin Pizzi wrote a book called This Way to the Revolution, I believe it was called. And she started up the Women's Refuge here in the UK. And she speaks out about feminists all the time. And she goes into great detail about what the feminist movement is really about, because it's not about equality.
But when I heard what was going on in the collectives, and I heard this, the most chilling phrase to me, and I called it the planned destruction of the family, was that what was said is the new parenting, the new structure would be women and children. That would be the new movement. And men would be disenfranchised because marriage was no longer a safe place, had never been a safe place for women and children. The women's movement has no interest in domestic violence. Its only main interest is and always has been money. And until you grasp that, then you don't really understand what's going on.
The feminist movement is designed to destroy the family home and to tax women and to take children off of parents. That's what it's designed to do, so that women have the ultimate rights, children don't have any rights, and men are somewhere near the bottom that's keeping everything else up. It's anyone who doesn't want to see the radical left go too far, which is what they have a propensity to do. You see, they make it all about sex. Again, they do it with other people. Like, they make it all about race, and they make it all about... It's not... They're just pitting people against each other. That's all that they're doing. They're creating a civil war amongst the sexes. It's all bullshit.
If you let a left-wing feminist tell you about men and what men do to women and how men behave and what men are like, and you were to change the word man with woman,
Yeah, it sounds exactly
the same.
It's exactly the
It's the
same.
exact same.
Yeah, but the thing is, the women are in control and the men aren't. The slave can say, I'm being oppressed, and the tyrant can say, I'm being oppressed. But the slave is the oppressed one.
I wrote the first book in the world on domestic violence. It was called Scream Quietly or the Neighbors Will Hear. It's not a gender issue. It has nothing to do with patriarchy. That's a whole made-up nonsense. It's actually fraud. And they did get funding, as thousands of women paid to join this movement. In England, it cost you £3.10, which is quite a lot of money, actually, in the 70s. But that money was running out, so they needed further funding. And this I knew would happen. It's a perfect issue for a feminist movement who say all men are violent. And it's a perfect funding issue, because as long as you make sure that the women are told and everybody is brainwashed into thinking of women as victims, then you have an income and it will become jobs for the girls. And of course, the recruiting areas were in all universities across the Western world. That's where the women professors began the whole women's studies and excluding men. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And as women went into law, they began to change the law, as you know, completely illegal, much of what they've done. Because what they've done is to take a man's right to be innocent before he's proven guilty That's been taken away. A man, no women, a man has to prove his innocence. And that is the most shocking thing, I think, that has happened in the last 40 years. All now a woman has to do is pick up the phone and he's finished.
The advantages of what we did was in the year 2019, we went on tour with one of my mentors who's actually a female dating coach. So he, besides Matthew Huss, he's like the largest female dating coach in the world.
What's his name?
Stéphane Labossière.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you.
That's a name and a half, isn't it?
I'll show you his social media. He has like 5 million followers around the social media.
Bloody hell. Well, you want to watch out because I've got like 300 and something.
Cool.
Really, really well respected, and he's a very positive person. And so, Stefan, you know, he's this rock star. I was on tour, and I was a video guy. So I wasn't teaching, I wasn't lecturing, I was recording and observing. And then you would see some of these women, the ones who've been hurt, the ones who have this very dogmatic belief. You see them.
You see, the other thing is, if women come on and says all men are pigs, da 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 da, I'll happily listen to them. And I'll hear what they've got to say, and I'll take in. I want to listen to their experience and why they believe that. But whereas when the guys do it, oh, that's men, they're being angry, they're resentful, oh, that's toxic, da 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 da. It's sort of like there's a rejection of the topic of the fact that there could be a dark side to women. Like, we know there's a dark side to men, that's obvious. But there's also a dark side to women, and everyone kind of brushes that under the carpet and keeps it behind closed doors.
You see them share it, and you see them express their hurt and their anger towards men. And what happens is when you get hurt, all of a sudden you look for validation for your hurt. So now when you see somebody do something,
I don't think it's so much validation. I think you try and understand it. You try and understand your hurt. You think, well, is this just me? Is it them? Is it society? Is it nature? Is it the government? Is it what is going on here? You start it throws you into chaos, and you have to kind of examine it and reorder your life. And you have to, like, especially when there's the death of God, you have to rebuild a belief system in some way.
Somebody do something right, you don't notice it. But when you see someone do something wrong, you notice it. So for example, they can see 50 guys open their doors for their wife. They won't notice that. But they see one.
Yeah, and even if they do see those good behaviours, there's a reason why he's doing it. He's doing it to get something that's it's all Machiavellian. There's not anything that's just because somebody wants to be nice.
See one guy yelling and screaming at his wife, they notice that, and it reinforces their beliefs. Mm-hmm. And so I would notice, I'll be like, dang it, and we would try to talk to the women, and be like, yo, there's so much more to men than what the media paints it, and you try to open their eyes, and they're stuck. They're not listening to you. They're stuck in their ways. And then, you know, doing what we're doing.
Yeah, there's been this cultural hypnosis. Like I say, it started with the feminist movement, and then the red pill was a reaction to that. And there is that kind of bitterness in both. But again, the feminists run society, and the men going their own way, or the red pill or whatever, they don't have a voice. They're starting to now. But it's a grassroots movement. It's a grassroots reactionary movement. It's not like they're the ones in charge.
And then, you know, doing what we're doing for men, you see that you're just like her. These women that.
But there's a difference between women and a feminist, because a feminist can be a man or woman. And a feminist is a pernicious ideology. And they're like a walking cliche. And it's almost like a virus mindset. It's hypnosis. It's cultural hypnosis. And kind of people are kind of mesmerized into it. That wouldn't be so bad if it was seen as an extreme thing, but it's not. It's seen as a normal thing. And our laws act in accordance with what women want. And they treat women differently in law, especially when it comes to family law and stuff like that. It's so sexist, it's unbelievable. And it destroys the men, it destroys the children, it destroys the grandparents, it destroys everybody, all to appease the woman, because that's what we're all doing this for. And I think that at the base it is because of sexual selection, because we're here to survive and reproduce.
We would meet on tour who were hurt, who were bitter, who were nihilistic, who were bent on all men are like this and this is how they are, and they're here to hurt women and screw you over. And you see these guys like that.
Again, let's assume that he's right in all that kind of stuff and they both sound the same. But here's the difference. The red pillars want to talk about it and sort it out. and the feminists just want to shut it down. And again, it's not men and women, it's not even masculine and feminine. It's more of a political ideology than it is anything else.
And it was really interesting, and it's really upsetting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's really sad
Yeah,
too. These
yeah.
People are better with somebody else, I
Yeah.
think. It's hard to be alone. Like, life is tricky. Life is
Yeah.
hard. It is sad. That's interesting.
Does Mikhaila really believe that, though, after all the things that she said?
Part of the reason it took a while is because I wanted to be absolutely sure that breaking up the family was better for everyone and not just for me.
Mm-hmm. Is it?
Yes, 100%.
All of us are responsible for the choices we make. I used to say to the mothers, first choice can be an accident, the second can be careless, but time you do it third time, you've really got to look at what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah, and I think to me it's just like with guys in that far red pill space, when you tell them you guys are hurt men,
Yeah,
it triggers them.
Yeah.
Because it makes them feel like you're emasculating them. But I think we don't understand like what hurt means. To be hurt is to be human. And a lot of times when you have a visceral attitude towards somebody, it usually comes when you really value and love a person. So I always say that's why some of your arguments with your siblings are some of the most contentious, or a spouse contentious, because the more you feel, the more you potentially can idolize someone, the more you can potentially demonize an individual as well. So with a lot of these guys, it's like they put so much into women and into all women. So I don't want to say women, into all women. And when that woman hurts him in any way, shape, whether it's, something as simple as she just didn't want him because she wasn't interested, to where she hurt him or cheated on him, now that creates this anger and hurt and animosity towards everybody, to where now you go online and all you want to do is hear stories that confirm what you felt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we would even see with our channel, we could do a video about, we do videos to help men, pick the right person, also to avoid the wrong person.
Yeah, if you want to pick the right person, the 3 things that I recommend and my solution is pick somebody based on honesty, trust and respect. And I know Peterson goes on about truth and stuff, but I don't think that we see truth. We see fitness. And I think that's technically what happens. And the case against reality, Donald Hoffman is a good reference point to that. We don't see truth, we see fitness. So we can't say or speak the truth, but we cannot lie, and we can be honest about what we believe to be true. And that's the best starting point that you can go from. And so you've got to be honest. And then from that, you've got to also be respectful. You see, because the feminists aren't respectful. And so it's kind of like, again, it's sort of like, it's like if someone hits your elbow and you go, ah, it's kind of like, it's a reactionary, oh, why did you do that? That's the red pill. And that's why they come around and say, who hurt you? And nobody cares about the answer. And the question is coming from a ridiculous place. Because if somebody got stabbed in the street and you came up and said, you're right, who hurt you? It's just like, it doesn't help the person heal. So it's kind of like, again, it's a very redundant question, because you don't understand the experience that somebody's going through. It's a really bad situation.
But all my friends in the space will tell you, you get 10x of views emphasizing negative traits than you do emphasizing the positive traits, because so many people just want to sit in the negativity.
Yeah. Even for thumbnails, I know that if you put something like how to, put something negative on the thumbnail, it's not like how to become hotter. It's like how to become less ugly. I mean, that's a bad example, but that one will make the ugly one will get more views. People are also evolutionarily predisposed to avoiding negativity, right? So it's just anything negative is going to stand out. I think people remember negative experiences.
No, I think they pay attention to negative experiences
More
100%.
too. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and then people don't realize.
They're doing a lot of thinking for other people. Why don't they just invite them on? I'll speak to them. I'll talk to them about it. This is an echo chamber going on here, and it's difficult to watch this, because they're just thinking for the people instead of asking them.
And I was trying to explain. I was trying to explain to the guys in my audience the capitalistic nature behind some of the red pill content, and the
yeah.
yeah. I'm curious why did that flicker in your mind? I'm curious.
Oh, well, when I had the conversation with Rollo, and I was like, I had an issue with your thumbnail. You're like, you made a thumbnail that was comparing me to someone who'd killed their child.
Yeah.
And I was like, that, I didn't like that. That wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
Right. And he was like, yeah, but he like full on said, it gets more clicks. You know how YouTube is.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay, but like maybe that's a little bit far, right? Like I get it. He's like, well, yeah, but I know how to make thumbnails, and like people want to see people argue online.
Yeah.
And he was like full on said, oh, he makes up stories, kind of makes up or plays into stories or makes these comparisons to get more views because people like that type of content. And I was like, well,
I think I did one video on Rollo Tomasi. I'll put it in the link in the description. There's so many of the guys in the space, but I think that's the one that she spoke to. And I know that she's had some dealings with Andrew Tate as well.
people like I don't, just because people like to watch that kind of thing doesn't mean that you should be devoting your life to making that kind of content. Like, what kind of life is that?
Yeah, no, that and that's the thing I try to explain, guys, as a person who, you know, obviously I don't affiliate myself with the Red Pill Manosphere or any of the other stuff, but as a person who has a lot of friends in the space and they tell me everything. Like, if anyone's in the space who makes significant amount of money, I know them personally. And
interesting.
And we talk about everything. And one thing is clear as day is that I remember I was watching a video with Logan Paul, and Logan Paul made a point where he's saying there's a difference between making good content and making good YouTube content. Because you can make a good video, but if it's not, you know, effects well and thumbnail well and titled well, it won't do well on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's the thing with my videos is I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a guy on YouTube. So it's like I don't have fancy thumbnails. I don't have fancy sets and lighting and microphones and shit like that. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I don't tell people to like and subscribe. It's not my thing. So I don't make 3 videos a week. You've got to make 3 videos a week. I can't, fuck that shit. Or 7 videos a day, I think, is the other one. I'm not playing the game. I think Rollo, that they're referring to a lot here, is playing the game. Because he's got a nice set, he's got this, he's got that. And he's trying to get a good YouTube channel going and have that as a success. But then you look at someone like Jordan Peterson, again, going back to Peterson, and he's not done that from the outset. He just put his lectures up originally because he was on it so many years ago. He might be playing the game now, but he wasn't always playing the game, and he's been in such ill health, bless him, over the past couple of years. So he hasn't been able to play the game, but yet his channel's still grown. And so you don't have to do all that stuff. All the subscribers that I've got are people that I've never told anyone to subscribe. I think I did it once in one video because I was like, I got to 99 and I had 1 left. And I was like, oh, come on, let's get to 100, like someone subscribe. I think I did it in one video out of all the videos that I've done.
Doesn't mean it's not a good video. This just means that to do good on YouTube, you must know how to hack YouTube and hack the audience's mind via YouTube.
So yeah, maybe.
YouTube. And so a lot of the people, they realize I can either do...
It might just be number of videos, because essentially YouTube want you to make YouTube videos and keep people on YouTube. So there seems to be a bit of a correlation between the amount of videos that you make and the amount of subscribers that you have. There's also watch time involved and loads of other stuff. So it's not always as straightforward as that. But yeah, there's people that want to be YouTubers and successful on YouTube. And there's people that want to make good YouTube videos. And sometimes the two come together.
Do YouTube hacky videos and make 50,000 a month, or I can do more positive, good content and make 10. When you're young, or when you're just trying to when you're really just making content for money, why would you sacrifice $40,000? You know? So a lot of people in the space, it's like, they know there's 3, 4, 5x of money. I can tell it to you for a fact. I know if I wanted to make money, there's a certain kind of video I know for a fact. if I do it, it's going to make money. But that video will perpetuate the negativity that a lot of guys feel.
Yeah.
And that performs the best.
Oh, that's tricky. That's
know?
really tricky. I've been trying for thumbnail optimization because my dad titles all his videos, and I was like, Dad, like, I get where you're coming from, but this isn't going to work. Like, you've got an excellent podcast here, but it should be getting 4 times as many views.
It's interesting how Mikhaila's trying to help her dad get more subscribers when he's Jordan fucking Peterson, and saying about how men should deal with the resentment after a divorce when she's the one divorcing men. It's difficult listening to Mikhaila. It's so difficult listening to Mikhaila because the reason why anyone knows about Mikhaila is because of Jordan. And she is, in many ways, is like the opposite of her father. So it's everything that Peterson kind of espouses, she kind of goes and does the opposite of. So you're trying to respect the man and what he's trying to do and how he's trying to help people and trying to lead by example. And then you look at Mikhaila, bless her, and she's just fucking I don't even know what to say, actually.
The thumbnail's not optimized, the title's not optimized. Can we just do it a little bit catchier?
Yeah.
It's a little bit catchier. And there's this really fine line between I mean, I've just decided if I do content that's I don't do content that I don't like to do for money because that makes me feel bad. And money doesn't make me feel better than that bad feeling. Yeah. So I just can't do that, right? The same way.
There's so many things that she's saying here. I'm not going to go into each one of them. Where she said in other videos, it seems to be the opposite. So again, there's a lot of... It's frustrating listening to Mikhaila because I think she's a good person. She comes across like a really lovely girl. But she's just in the middle of something that I don't think she fully understands. And she's trying to make sense of it. And it's frustrating watching her. It's like, come on, can't you see it? Don't you get it yet? It's like... I'm trying to think of a good example. It's like when you're watching... a detective drama or something, and come on, the killer's right in front of you. Haven't you figured it out yet? I'm rooting for her. I don't know about what other people are saying, but I'm rooting for her. I hope she finds a good reconciliation of this.
The same way. I think I get it though, especially for younger people. That's tricky to navigate because it's a game, right? More than look how much money I made. It's not, I'm perpetuating a negative stereotype and making the entire world a little worse, right? 100%. It's just I'm making money.
Exactly. And that point that you brought up is especially true for the younger guys. I know a lot of guys in the space.
There's so many things to say here about it because it's just a bit off with everything that they're both saying. And it's frustrating. I feel like I want to be part of this conversation. That's probably why I'm doing this reaction video, because I want to be part of the conversation. But it's difficult because it needs to be an engaged conversation. It's there's so many things here that they're just off the mark with. I see where they're trying to go and they're trying to be constructive, but they're just not understanding certain vital things.
So in the content creator space, a lot of the guys, the difference is that music subconsciously educates you, but a lot of people don't realize their content is explicitly educating other people. People are going here to learn about the truth. And if you're going to teach someone the truth, you have to teach them the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Again, I don't think you can teach people the truth because people don't know the truth. And they can't handle the truth.
You can't just only show the ugly of life. Same with the women. The feminists, the extreme feminists, there's enough bad things men have done in society to paint men to be the worst species to ever walk the face of the earth. There is enough. If you want to find all those contents, and I've always likened it to in 2011 when the World Trade Center got crashed, when the buildings got crashed. My name is Hafiz. Hafiz means one who memorizes the Quran. At that time, I had a lot of Muslim friends.
Oh.
And I remember when that happened, all the Muslim guys, after that one event, everybody, they had to leave school. Some of the guys had to leave school. They didn't go to school for a week. Some people were randomly
you
beating
in New
it.
York
Huh?
too? You were in.
I left New York at that time. I was actually in Atlanta at this time. But
Okay.
imagine if I was in New York, it was only escalated. My friends
Yeah.
in New York were telling me like, yo, like,
Yeah, because it doesn't matter who you are. It only matters what other people's story of you is. So that's why people can turn on you. That's why, like I say on here, you've not really got to pay too much attention to what other people think and believe about you unless it interferes with your life. Because you can't worry about what other people are thinking about, because they could be thinking anything about you. So it's more important about what you think about you. So even if you get somebody that gets mobbed because a group of people believe that they're somebody different to who they actually are, at least the individual knows who they are and they don't need to justify themselves to the group.
some people, they literally did not go to school for that entire month because they knew like there was
Even in Toronto, that happened, and that was Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at that moment I realized that if all you see, because most people don't, especially around the country, don't really meet or interact with Muslims. If all you saw from a Muslim is him blowing up a building, now every time you see them, you're gonna have that correlation to think terrorist criminal blow up the building. I remember I had so many people would tell me like that, you know, as a Muslim, you couldn't pray. If you had to pray in the airport, you couldn't pray anymore. There was a time where you could maybe go into the corner and pray at the airport. You could not pray in the airport if you were a Muslim. From 2001 probably to even now. Like it's because people would see.
Yeah, I mean, that's a completely different topic altogether, but I see what you're saying.
People would see you,
Yeah.
you know, in
Yeah.
court, praying a lock bar. You know, they're like,
Yeah.
"Yo, I'm not getting on a plane with them because of a few media videos and examples of extreme people who did bad things." So what I found is like a lot of that content online, that's what it's doing to men. It's showing them the absolute worst things that women do to people. And now that shapes their brains to now feel that negative emotion. And
Well, no, it's just so that they can be prepared for it. I mean, like, if you're going to go into anything, you want to be prepared for it. There's a lot of negative aspects to doing anything. And I think what happens is that men are kind of, I mean, that's the whole nature of the blue pill and the kind of beta male, is that they have a very naive way of looking at the world. And it's based in a fantasy. It's not based in the reality of the world and nature and how primates interact with one another. It's just so completely separate from reality that it's just making them aware of what they're getting themselves into. I'll give you one example. One of the things that I advocate is that, and I said this the other day in my other video, like men and women rate each other on a scale of 1 to 10. Oh, they're a 7, they're an 8, they're a 9, they're a 6, or whatever. And I wouldn't advocate that. I'd say the process that you want to go through is, am I attracted to this person or not? And the other thing isn't, oh, I wouldn't just have sex with her because she's good looking and because she's available to me. But another better question to ask yourself is, would I be happy if she fell pregnant with my child? Because when she does that, it's out of the realm of your control. So don't just go and fuck girls who you think are fit. Fuck girls that if you were to have a baby with them, or that you were to find out they were pregnant, you'd be happy about it. That's a better way of looking at judging women. Or would I be happy for them to be the mother of my child? As opposed to just thinking, oh, I'd love to fuck her. So it gives the man a bit of foresight. So you're considering pregnancy as a part of having sex, because that's what sex is for. Whereas men can easily objectify women and not think about the repercussions of having sex. So there's one example of how I'd say, you know, having these conversations can result in better decision making in the future, because men will start having babies with women that they actually want to have babies with. And again, I'd say the same thing to women. Like, don't sleep with a guy unless you're prepared to have a baby with him. Don't just sleep with someone just because you fancy them today and you might not tomorrow, because you might fall pregnant and then you might not want an abortion. Again, not to drag her into this, but a bit like with what happened with Mikhaila.
And so he was instrumental there. So people are online were like, why aren't you? And even my dad, why aren't you with someone who's like a good dad? He's helping your family. And I don't really want to get, like, I don't want to get into the negatives.
Yeah.
I've been telling my followers, and I think this is just important for people to do, is if what you're viewing on social media is making you feel worse, then you have to stop looking at it, right? Because you end up in, social media also caters to what you click on.
Yes.
So if you're like, okay, this was kind of interesting and it's this clickbaity video that makes your outlook of the world more negative, it's just going to keep showing you those things because you press on them. And so you have to think about how you want your life to be, right? And probably surrounding yourself with resentful people, whether or not you're in the like red pill community or on the like way over on the left. If it's making you resentful, especially towards like, well, towards anybody, but towards the opposite sex too, whom you're going to have to have a relationship with. If you want to have a family, maybe you shouldn't be watching content that makes you resentful and then potentially stops you from having a relationship and a family. Like maybe watch something more positive.
Yeah, but again, this is a lady that's got divorced.
Like right
I
now,
said, I wouldn't go back. What I would have changed is I shouldn't have gotten married, because that caused a whole bunch of problems, and that was the issue.
She's enacted what most men are complaining about and why most people end up in the red pill, because she's had a child with somebody and got married, argued throughout the whole time, and then got divorced, and then used him when she was trying to go Russia. It was in the other video and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to breed resentment in people. That's going to breed frustration in people to be treated that way. So I think it would be very good to listen to, what is it, Andre, the guy that she was married to. It'd be good to listen to Andre, Mikhaila and Jordan, all talking about everything that they've been through. And I'd love to hear what Andre thinks, because Jordan and Mikhaila have acted completely differently with regards to marriage. Jordan's had a long-term marriage and Mikhaila hasn't. So that's the outcome. So, and marriages do better when couples stay together. And yes, they don't argue. But why would you want to be arguing with your partner? Surely you want to love and support them. So it doesn't make sense to me. So it'd be interesting to see what the dynamic is between Mikhaila and Andre, and what Andre has to say. Because I've never seen a video with him talking about anything to do with their marriage and stuff like that. And to imagine him being him now. What, you just go out with this girl that you probably went to high school with or met somewhere, and then her dad gets famous, and now she's talking about your relationship, and now you're thrown into the spotlight. It's quite an interesting position to be in. Anyway, the dark side of male improvement content. Yeah, and I mean, it's put there, improvement in the brackets. And I think if it improves you, then there's no... I think if it improves you overall, and you learn from it and grow from it, then I think looking at the dark side of the male content is a good thing. But if you get stuck, in the belly of the whale, then, and you're not improving, then it's probably best to switch it off. So that's where I do agree with them. Is this ultimately helping you? Like, are you dealing with your resentment, or are you just stuck there? So yeah, that's my highly impassioned video on the dark side of the male improvement content. Hello, my name is Doug, and I've created a video tutorial called What to Message a Girl for Online Dating Success. The reason why I've created this product is to help those men out there who are dating online but are not getting the replies or getting the dates that they desire. My product will teach you what to message a girl, what not to message a girl, when to message a girl, how to respond when you're not sure what to write, what to do if she doesn't reply, how to get her phone number, and how to communicate to get online dating success. If you're getting matches and no success, this product is for you. It's what you need to do today to start getting success with your matches. I'll also be talking about other issues such as how to spot red flags, identify time wasters, to stay out the friend zone, how to deal with ghosting, simmering and icing. Not only will I be giving you exactly what you need, copy and paste, I'll also be explaining to you the reason why I'm writing what I'm writing, so you can understand the psychology and know what behaviours to look out for and which ones to avoid. This product is packed with value. I've tried to cram as much as I can into a short amount of time as possible while being the most informative. If you're a man and you're confused and frustrated with what to text with online dating, this product is the solution for you to get more dates in less time. Click the link in the description box below to buy the product and change your dating life forever.
Do you think you should have had the kid out of wedlock then? Because in the Tom, the reason I asked,
Well, see, this
in the
is
Tom Bilyeu interview, and you were saying you didn't want to be an unmarried mother.
no, I didn't, and that's the problem I had when I was 23. It was like, okay, I have an unplanned pregnancy, and the most stable way to raise a child is in a family with a man and a woman.
And you bring kids into a step-parent family, they do not do as well. Step-parents are not as good parents as biological parents, and the data on that is clear. It's not that easy to care for children. You need everything you can binding you to them. And if they're someone else's children, mostly they get in the way of the person that you love, right?
Agreed.
And so bite the bullet, get married, and figure out how to make it work and negotiate until you have a proper relationship. And so that was my thinking when I was 23, and I wasn't able to negotiate that relationship.
And the rate of abuse for kids in step-parent families is way higher than it is in biological families. There's not even any comparison.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know him personally, but it seems by all, let's just say, impressions that Andre is pretty good with your daughter.
Andre's very good with my daughter.
Very, I mean, you have to understand the impression that I have and pretty much everybody else has when we're seeing nothing but Instagram shots of Andre with the kid and you off doing what with the Tates, first of all, and then second of all, doing what you're doing right now. So,
well,
is there something else like that people don't know that
well,
is like he's not as good as the impressions are?
Oh, well, I'm certainly not gonna say anything negative about Andre, like ever, period.
That's okay.
So that's just bottom line.
I mean, I have seen interviews of you. Well, I think it was you and your mother or something like that, talking about how building a relationship and building that marriage. But do you think that wasn't possible with Andre?
No, it wasn't possible.
Okay, was because
I really believe in marriage, which is probably why I would never get married, because the majority of people that initiate divorces are women, because the majority of people that benefit from divorces are women. I've done a few videos on the family court on this channel, some of which have been taken down. And my opinion of the family court is that I believe it's an extension of radical feminism to destroy the family home for economic profit. And the family court is absurdly sexist to the point of child abuse. If the family court believed in shared parenting, it would put a bill in stating the presumption of shared parenting.
It is not pleasant. It's a 10-year process, 15-year process. It'll cost you $250,000, and it'll tear a big chunk out of your life. And also, it will really disrupt your relationship with your kids.
I've thought about this for a long time, and the best thing that I can come up with, because many people struggle to stay married, is to redesign marriage to some extent to cater for the needs of children. My idea is that when you have a baby with somebody, you're obligated to take care of them till, say, 18. And the breakdown of any sexual relationship as a result of marriage and stuff shouldn't have anything to do with the breakdown of parental relationship. There should be like a marriage based on parental relationship, so whether you have sex or not. So let me know what you think. Have you been married? Would you get married? Have you been divorced? If so, would you get remarried? Comment below, let me know your thoughts and feelings on marriage. I'll be interested to read your comments. Hello, my name is Doug and I've created a video tutorial called What to Message a Girl for Online Dating Success. The reason why I've created this product is to help those men out there who are dating online but are not getting the replies or getting the dates that they desire. My product will teach you what to message a girl, what not to message a girl, when to message a girl, how to respond when you're not sure what to write, what to do if she doesn't reply, how to get her phone number, and how to communicate to get online dating success. If you're getting matches and no success, this product is for you. It's what you need to do today to start getting success with your matches. I'll also be talking about other issues such as how to spot red flags, identify time wasters, to stay out the friend zone, how to deal with ghosting, simmering and icing. Not only will I be giving you exactly what you need, copy and paste, I'll also be explaining to you the reason why I'm writing what I'm writing so you can understand the psychology and know what behaviours to look out for and which ones to avoid. This product is packed with value. I've tried to cram as much as I can into a short amount of time as possible while being the most informative. If you're a man and you're confused and frustrated with what to text with online dating, this product is the solution for you to get more dates in less time. Click the link in the description box below to buy the product and change your dating life forever.